All right, good evening. It is time for TV47 Weekend. Thank you so much for always staying tuned to TV47. It's a beautiful year. It is looking promising, and I certainly hope that indeed it's going to come along with greatness and abundance. Karibu sana. My name is Linda Alela. I have lots lined up for you, even as we usher in the new year. So stay tuned, and here are the highlights. Tonight, it is a race against time to rescue at least 4 people believed trapped under the rubble of a 16-story building that collapsed in South Sea early Friday. Several government and private agencies are working together to secure survivors before it's too late. Also tonight, the government allows parents to seek admission for grade 10 learners at senior schools of their choice following placement review. At least 44.2 billion shillings has been released for school capitation. And parents have begun preparations for the new term starting next week. Today's rush, however, was unusually calm compared to previous years. Yes, this is TV47 Weekend. Karibu sana. Once again, it's a pleasure to have you join us. I'll be assisted on the other end, that is on the sign language interpreter's desk, by none other than Rhoda Nyamai. And of course, the lines are open for you to speak to us, even as we disseminate the broadcast. Now, the National Transport and Safety Authority, working with police officers, has launched a major crackdown that is on traffic offenders as part of renewed efforts to improve road safety and as well curb rising accidents across the country.
In an operation conducted along the southern bypass in Nairobi, NTSA officers impounded 17 vehicles for various offenses, including lack of inspection documents, driving without valid licenses, and speeding.
Around 17 vehicles have been nabbed because of various violations. Some of them include lack of inspection stickers, drivers doesn't have licenses, and also speeding. Speed violation actually is one of the major traffic offenses, and that's why you can see a number of them, a number of drivers have been arrested because of that.
Some drivers were found operating heavy commercial vehicles using licenses meant only for small private cars, a violation NTSA says poses serious risk to passengers and other road users.
As you can see, some of them actually have classes for small vehicles, yet they are driving heavy commercial vehicles. This is not allowed, and we are saying as NTSA and the National Police is, have the right class before you come on the road.
The crackdown follows another operation on Thursday night, January 1st, along the Kisii-Nairobi highway in the Kegati area, where 6 drivers were arrested for drunk driving and 6 matatus were impounded after being declared unroadworthy.
To the drivers and to the general public is to be safe drivers, safe road users, because more than 85% of these fatalities are attributed to the issue of human behavior.
NTSA has warned that such operations will continue across major highways nationwide, targeting indiscipline among motorists and public service vehicle operators.
Schools are open. So we are telling the public that actually when you are on the road as a driver, ensure you have the right papers. Ensure your vehicle is compliant, you've gone for inspection, and also don't carry excess passengers, especially for PSVs.
The authority has cautioned PSV drivers against overloading and urged all motorists to ensure their documents are valid before taking to the roads. NTSA has also called on drivers to obey traffic laws and exercise caution to protect lives on Kenyan roads.
All right, and authorities say the multi-story building that collapsed in Nairobi's South Sea estate has been flagged for serious compliance concerns. That is long before it came down. Reports indicate the structure was approved for only 12 floors but had risen to 16 floors at the time of collapse. Questions are now mounting over who allowed the construction to continue and why repeated warnings from residents went unanswered. Sheila Chelangat reports on that.
Bare holes in the walls, twisted metal, piles of rubble is all that remains of a multi-story building along Muhoho Avenue in Nairobi's South Sea Estate. The structure collapsed in the early hours of Friday morning, confirming fears residents say they had raised for years. The building had approval for only 12 floors, yet by the time it collapsed, construction had stretched to 16. Residents say the signs were always there: rushed constructions, floors rising too fast, and little regard for safety standards.
Sasa watu ya hapa kujenga jumba na jenga leo kesho watu naingia. Hiyo sio tabia. Jumba anakunyisha maji, mesi mzima wiki mbili unakunyisha maji. Simiti na shikana. Sasa kama saa hii najenga, saa hii naingia, hii ndo naua watu. Hawaache hiyo tabia.
Nairobi County officials now confirm the site had been flagged several times last year for construction violations, raising serious questions about why the project was allowed to continue.
2 floors were not approved, and that's why on 11th of August 2025, there was a stop order issued by Nairobi County government to stop the process of building this, construction of this building.
The developer on record is Abayan Consulting Limited, who also acted as the contractor, and its sole director is Yusuf Mohammed Yusuf.
If it was in a scenario where a lot of people on the ground, will have more casualties.
Preliminary assessments suggest the failure may have originated from the lower levels, often linked to poor foundation work, substandard material, or premature removal of formwork.
Hata nyinyi serikali wanaandika watu ambao hawajui kazi. Engineer akikuja site anatembea hajui kitu yote na wanapea.
Adding to residents' fears, an adjacent high-rise has been declared high risk. Engineers closely monitoring it for cracks and signs of structural instability. As investigations begin, residents are demanding full closure of approval records and accountability, not just from developers and contractors, but also consultants and officials who sanctioned the project. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Thank you, Sheila, for that update. Now, it is about 9 p.m., a full day after a 16-story building under construction collapsed in Nairobi's South Sea area. 4 people are feared trapped under the rubble, while 1 person injured near the site has been rushed to hospital. Authorities are racing against time to save those still trapped. Juliet Kimwe reports.
This is the scene of the devastating along Muhoho Avenue in South Sea, Nairobi, hours after a 16-story building construction collapsed. The collapse occurred around 4:30 a.m., but as of 9 p.m., rescue teams continued their desperate efforts to save the 4 people feared trapped beneath the rubble. A taxi driver who was near the scene sustained injuries and was rushed to hospital, where his condition is stable.
Jana saa 12 ametoka kwangu, ameenda kazi. Tangu saa hiyo nimesikia jana saa 10 ameangukia nyumba.
Residents describe hours of anxiety, watching rescue teams dig through debris as the night falls, hoping for news of the survivors.
Watu wengine tu area hii napigia sisi simu ndio nasikia anakuja saa 12 hata sisi hapa.
As stakeholders, as residents, be involved in the approvals and the public participation that happens.
The National Disaster Management Authority says over 9 agencies are involved in the operation, including the National Police Service, Kenya Red Cross, Nairobi County emergency teams, and other first responders, all working around the clock.
Capacity of the machinery we are having, we have enough because we are having more than 3, and we have lorries on the ground from the City Council. Right now we have like 9 agencies, yes, on the ground. We have the National Police Service on the ground. We have the NDMU, Red Cross.
Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku, who visited the scene, says the government's top priority is rescuing those trapped and securing the area to prevent further incidents.
An effort has been put in place by government, multi-agency approach, so that we can be able to deal with this disaster in a more efficient and effective manner as a government. And all the teams are putting effort to rescue the 4 who are trapped in the building.
Authorities caution that the operation remains dangerous, with the teams navigating unstable rubble in a race against time as night falls. Investigations into the cause of the collapse will begin once rescue efforts are completed. The latest collapse of this 16-story building has not only caused fears among South Sea residents, but has also called into government questioning the departments that are authorizing such buildings. Juliet Kimwe, TV47, South Sea, Nairobi.
Thank you, Juliet. Now, the government has released 44.245 billion shillings as capitation for Term 1 for learners in all public basic institutions. In a statement, Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migo says the capitation funds will facilitate the seamless conduct of school activities in the new term, which starts on January the 5th, with grade 10 learners expected to report to their respective senior schools starting January the 12th. The 44.245B has been apportioned, that is as follows: across various levels of basic education, free primary education 3.703 billion, free day junior school education is taking 14.459, and free day secondary school is taking 26.08 billion. And our resident of Ugunja sub-county who killed a python after it attacked and killed his dog is set to receive government compensation. The incident drew national attention and prompted a visit by Kenya Wildlife Service officials who say it highlights the need for timely reporting of human-wildlife conflicts.
52-year-old Charles Osore of Luoka village in Madungu sublocation, Ugunja sub-county, will be compensated by the government after killing a python that attacked and killed his dog.
Sina shida na serikali. Ni vile tu vile wamekuja hivi, waone vile watanishughulikia ama kunisaidia.
The incident drew national attention, prompting a visit by a Kenya Wildlife Service team led by Grace Kariuki, the senior warden in charge of Kisumu and Siaya counties.
Hata kama nyoka ameua ama nyoka amefariki na ameua mbwa, aliona ni vyema arudishe trophy kwa serikali, kwa sababu nyoka hiyo gosi yake ni trophy ndani ya serikali.
Speaking at Osore's home, Kariuki thanked him for cooperating with authorities despite the loss, noting that the visit was meant to support him and initiate the compensation process.
Na tutafanya vile itahitajika ndiposa ukapate fidia. Leo tumekuja na form, utajaza na tutasaidiana diposa wakati wa kufidia ukifika ufidiwe kama wale wengine.
KWS officials assured residents that the government would handle the matter in line with wildlife conservation laws, while stressing the importance of promptly reporting wildlife incidents. The team also pledged to conduct community awareness sessions to educate residents on how to safely respond to encounters with wildlife. Hibak Said for TV47.
All right, now nationwide protests over harsh living conditions in Iran have entered their 6th day today. That is Friday, with reports of escalating clashes between demonstrators as well as security forces. State-affiliated media say at least 2 people have been killed, though details remain limited. Now, witness accounts and videos shared online show protesters lying on the ground following confrontations with security forces. The Oslo-based Hengo Human Rights Organization reports that One of those killed was shot before being taken to hospital. Now, the deaths are said to have occurred in the southwestern city of Lorigan. Human rights groups are warning that is on intensifying crackdown, alleging that security forces are using live ammunition against protesters. Meanwhile, United States President Donald Trump says Washington is prepared to take action in further deaths or if further deaths are reported. All right, this year the familiar back-to-school rush is noticeably missing. Markets that would typically be packed with parents scrambling for uniforms, books and shoes are unusually calm just days to the reopening of schools. Now, traders say sales are slow, while parents point to rising costs and tight household budgets as they delay on scale back purchases. Mudhoni Brenda has the details of that.
Usually at this time of the year, when the back to school is a few days away, parents are dashing through crowded markets, ticking off long shopping lists and trying to stretch every shilling. But this year, the back to school rush seems to have taken a pause. Streets that are usually jam-packed with parents and children are calm, and even drivers say the usual hustle is missing.
Difference iko kubwa sana, kwa maana wakati kama huu watoto wanatarajiwa kurudi shule next week. Wazazi huwa wanajaa hapa town wakitafuta vitabu, wakitafuta kalamu, wakitafuta mabags na viatu, lakini kwa siku ya leo iko chini sana.
Booksellers say they have restocked uniforms, exercise books and stationery ready for the new term. But so far, parents haven't turned up to buy, leaving shops unusually quiet for this time of the year. Traders, however, remain hopeful that in the coming days, many parents will likely join the last-minute rush.
It's not been busy like the other years. It's a bit low because by now we are usually busy from morning to evening, but for now it's just few people. Others are waiting for the last-minute rush.
Some parents who braved the shops say rising prices are keeping them cautious. One mother shopping for her child starting grade 1 says exercise books and school supplies are extremely pricey.
Mostly the books. I think there is a variety of them, many publishers, so you really have to know which book you're buying. Some prices are very hiked, I think so, like a book costing 700 shillings and it's a material a child writes in, then you discard it. I'm finding it quite pocket unfriendly. And some are not available in all the shops. Like there's a book I've gone to more than 3 shops to get a book, but I've gotten one for grade 1. So it's quite hectic looking for those particular books that each school wants.
Many have attributed the unusually slow turnout to the rising cost of living, with families tightening their budgets and carefully weighing every shilling before heading out to shop for school supplies.
Wazazi hawana option nyingine, ni watoto warudi shule. Kama wafukuzwe, kwa maana saa hii kama hawajakuja leo tutangojea lini, na next week ni shule. Kwa hivyo economy iko baya, wazazi hawana pesa kwa mfuko, na tunaomba kama serikali inaweza iturudishie ile pesa ya watoto.
Happy New Year to the students, and as they go back to school, we wish them to have a good time and read, and also for the parents. Ataka uchumi imekuwa mbaya, kung'ang'ana tu.
Mudhoni Brenda for TV47, Nairobi.
All right. Now, KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli has delivered a New Year message to Kenyan workers, wishing them prosperity and improved livelihoods in 2026. Atwoli has praised workers for their resilience and role in driving the country's economy. As well, Atwoli has also urged the government to raise the minimum wage and improve terms of services to cushion workers against the high cost of living. He also called for increased efforts to attract investors to create employment opportunities. Now, the trade unionists appealed for infrastructure development, including an international airport, better roads, and improved sanitation in major cities.
But as workers of this country, we have immensely contributed to the improved economy of this country. And I would urge the government to start planning how to improve minimum wage, including employers also to ease negotiations on their collective bargaining so that workers can be beneficiary on economy that they have been involved to construct or to build. The current well-performing economy in Kenya. I want to take this opportunity to urge government to try as much as possible in attracting new investors in this country so that we can have both, as I've said time and again, a direct and indirect investment which will open up employment opportunities. More so, hospitality industry. I want to urge particularly the Minister of Tourism to make sure that we have our own cruise ship along the coast and in our Lake Victoria so that we can have tourists. And we want to see government addressing the dilapidated infrastructure everywhere in the Republic of Kenya so that particularly the completion of the road which links Malindi, Kilifi to Mombasa.
All right. Now, every evening, the news reaches you home polished, verified, and ready for broadcast. But long before the cameras roll, a very different story unfolds. So tonight, we take you inside the newsroom, the pressure, the preparation, and the unscripted moments that never make it to air. Now, from missed cues and tongue twisters to moments of pure chaos, this is Beyond the Bulletin. Mike Agungu takes us behind the scenes. Take a look.
Putting together television news stories a race against time, a carefully choreographed effort where reporters, editors, camera crews and producers work in sync under constant pressure. From early planning meetings to field reporting, script writing, editing and final approval, every step demands accuracy, speed and sound judgment. Decisions are made in real time, often as events continue to unfold.
Unaona?
Ameamua tu apite katikati.
Nime-lose intonation, darling.
Acha nianze vizuri.
This is the side of journalism that rarely makes it on air. The long hours, the tough calls, and the teamwork that turns raw information into reliable news. These are the moments behind the scenes that shape the final stories you see on your screen. Let's begin with Sheila Chelangat.
Ngoja.
Let's do this, Sheila. Hatuna muda kabisa. Ni kumoto, but you must do this ndio uweke story.
Sasa tutafanya text kama 100 leo. Ni kumoto mazi.
Kenya sasa itachuana na Madagascar.
You even found yourself at the sports department in 2025. This, however, had consequences.
Kenya sasa itachuana na Madagascar katika robo finali Ijumaa ijayo. Lakini swali ni je, marufuku dhidi Lakini swali ni je,
Hibak said, you would continue ama utanza tena.
Acha nianze vizuri. And while the Treasury insists that
I haven't confused you in any way, neither was I at the same.
Let me do it the last time. Ni wewe ndo umeniconfuse.
Now, Andrin Kilemi, to achieve in Swahili ni kuafiki.
Na ambapo wangeweza kusoma na kuachieve ndoto zao.
It looks like someone had ostensibly pissed you off while in the line of duty.
Huku wanafunzi wapatao 50,000 wakiwa
But what exactly did he do?
Sasa unaangalia mtu kwa uso hivi aje shwali. Haya.
But as your office desk mate, I think ni ghost zilikuwa zinakuandama.
With a ghost hadi maghost zinaniandama.
Anyway, if you continue massaging mzee namna hii in 2026, we might not even see the gates of Singapore at all costs. Anyway, in the middle of your PTC.
Mashindano ya nani atakayewasimamia wanafunzi wa mtaala wa elimu CBC yanazidi kushika kasi na kuibua maswali kuhusiana na utawala, rasilimali na muundo wa baadaye wa shule sekondari. Hey my lord. Ameamua tu apite katikati.
But still haukuwa na kitu. For Muthoni Brenda, it was about intonation. Yes, losing intonation.
Old Mercy Thairo lost her life on this very same highway.
Nime lose intonation, darling. I'm sorry. Niendelee tena tu.
Endelea.
Nipige?
Kapige.
The late Cecilia Achieng is sadly not the first young person to die under such circumstances. Earlier this year, 23-year-old Mercy Thairo. Namweta thyroid.
Wewe toka nje tu. But wait, why are you even angry?
Questions continue to arise about the timelines, medical decisions, and the stories told in the aftermath. As friends and family continue to grieve, only a transparent account on Betty's life.
Before I, however, let you go, what about joy and the fun of the season?
For most Kenyans, the 3D t-shirts wasn't about making a fashion statement. It was about joy and the fun of the season. Job competition continues to grow as more people continue. Job competition has intensified as more people continue to compete for limited opportunities. As this pressure grows, strong oversight will be necessary in protecting jobs and maintaining a strong...
The 2024 Journalist of the Year, Elizabeth Atieno, had only one assignment: to pose for a photo.
Kilifi County has recorded a significant decline in cases.
As Christmas period approaches, Kenyans have been urged to maintain...
Maintaining and enhancing were the most difficult words for Robert Gakure of Murang'a County.
And what? And enhance road safety. Twende.
Chambilecho Malengo wa Mrima, asiyejua ngeli hajui sarufi, na asiyejua sarufi hakijui Kiswahili.
Imekuwa mwaka mzima ama umekuwa? Tunasemanga aje? Umekuwa?
Let's hope that 2026 will be fairly friendly for you.
Kuna taarifa za habari? Ama kuletea habari? Kuletea taarifa.
Let's take a moment and listen to some music here from Turkana County.
Maisha yamekuwa marefu, wanaume wasipojituma, tunaelekea mbinguni, wanaume twende kazini. Kwa kipindi cha mwaka mmoja sasa kumekuwa na amani ya kudumu baina ya jamii hizi mbili.
Anyway, just compose yourself first.
Mzee. Mchakato huu wa amani unaoongozwa na viongozi kutoka Kenya na taifa hili la Uganda huenda likazaa matunda baina ya jamii ya Turkana ya Kenya na Karamoja ya Uganda, swala ambalo likaleta uwiano na utangamano.
Mwaluse Meshak, why were you running away from the camera?
Shughuli za masomo katika vyuo vikuu vya umma humu nchini huenda ikasambaratika. Shughuli za masomo katika vyuo vikuu vya umma humu nchini huenda vikasambaratika iwapo serikali italifumbia swala hili macho na kuacha wahadhiri hao pamoja na wafanyakazi kugoma. Mwaluse Meshak.
Boniface Kimanzi, 2 minutes was a lot of time kurudia PTC.
Tupatie 2 minutes.
Anyway, one last chance.
Through the power of basketball and NBA's inclusion collaboration, deaf and non-deaf players have found a new ground, not only as players,
Unaona?
No one will have enjoyed doing this piece more than Faith Wangari. She knew the power of making your passion your career.
In commemoration, that is the son of Raila Amolo Odinga's life cycle waiting to be delivered in Bondo constituency posthumously. Faith Wangari, TV47, Nairobi.
But has called onto government to...
Then there was Juliet Kimwe. She even knew how she mishandled the mic. I mean the microphone.
Hata kuna mtu aliambia nashika mic kama mtu anaogopa.
Anyway, ni kama Kiswahili hakikuwa chako.
Kuporomoka kwa jengo hili lililokuwa na urefu wa ghorofa 16 kando na kuibua hofu kwa wakazi wa eneo la South Sea, limeibua hofu pia
Kiswahili, my God. We.
Let's hope for a better 2026. As usual from Mzee Wakazi Apollo Kamau, it was meditation moment. Now, what political statement was made at Malava by-election though?
It's not just a parliamentary by-election, but a political statement on who commands support and loyalty.
At the 2027 what?
The forthcoming Malava by-election is not just a parliamentary by-election, but a political statement on who will command the numbers and loyalty in 2020.
Sasa simama vizuri ndio upige.
Hivi. Hapo.
Last but not least was yours truly.
A section of CAU members are now in fear of losing jobs and decreasing salaries.
But acting as an example, mine was just once and one shot. From TV47's editorial department, we wish you all a happy 2026. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Mike Kagungu, aka yours truly, thank you so much for those great memories. I mean, it takes so much for us to disseminate what we disseminate to you. How about we take a short breather on that very note and then we come back with more. Later, we revisit the ruckus and tragic scenes during the late Raila Odinga's body viewing in Nairobi, Kisumu, and Siaya. Security forces faced both hits and misses over the 3 days of mourning, death, and burial. All right. On October 16th, 2025, Kenya was gripped by grief as thousands of mourners paid their respect to former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, affectionately known as Baba. The political giant who passed away at the age of 80 while receiving treatment in India was a stalwart of Kenya's fight for democratic reforms. His death marked the end of an era, drawing massive crowds to the capital's airport and public viewing venues. Now, crime and security reporter Samira Mohammed followed Raila's final journey to Bondo, a journey that began as a solemn farewell but descended into chaos, leaving 3 dead and dozens injured.
We soon will have
the state reception for former Prime Minister Raila Odinga at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport descended into chaos as supporters thronged the airport, overwhelming security personnel. The eager supporters surrounded Raila's casket, leaving military personnel on the ground largely unable to control the situation.
Kwenda kwa airport nilikaa hapo mpaka mwili ya baba ikafika, tolea kwa ndege. Mimi nilikuwa hapo, nikaomba hawa watu wako hapo na mimi sina nguvu. Tafadhali naomba tu munipatie nafasi niingie nione mwili ya baba. Peke yake ndio mimi nataka. Sasa watu vile walikuwa wengi na vijana wadogo, unajua. Walikuwa wanasukumana mpaka wengine wameniangusha chini mpaka nakaa kama daraja, mtu ananikanyaga anapita akifuka ngambo ile. Mpaka meno yangu, jino yangu ikatoka.
By saa 2 nilikuwa airport. Mimi nakaa side za huko Kikuyu huko. Lakini nilichoma tu. By saa 2 nilikuwa airport. Kufika airport pia hakukuwa rahisi. Tumewekewa guard, hakuna kupita. Hatuwezi ingia, ni nini tunaenda, hatuna ID. So mimi nikapark bike nikasema sasa hapa ndio patamu na kupiga madrama tukingoja baba. Cause hiyo ni kitu ilikuwa online, tunajua masaa na nini. Sasa ni zile tu mbwembwe hapo, tukipoteza time, tukiambia maskari hapa tutapita tu. The moment tutaona baba, hiyo pia nyinyi kama ni reinforcement muongeze, kwa sababu si ati ni ujeuri, ni baba tumekujia. So sioni haja mtupige hata tia gas.
Efforts by leaders including the Raider Member of Parliament Tende Omolo to calm the crowd were unsuccessful, with mourners continuing to mill around the casket. The unexpected surge at the airport disrupted the official reception program, forcing security officers to momentarily lose control of the situation as emotional supporters broke through the barriers to catch a glimpse of the hearse carrying Raila's remains.
Venye nilisikia tu baba, yani nilisikia nimeishiwa nguvu, hata sikujua ni askari yako mbele ama ni kupita. Unasikia kupita, sasa unaendea mzazi. Hivyo ndio venye sisi tulijipata mpaka tukaambiwa that fence iko protected, akiangu prohibited, sijui nini. Kuenda tutaki kujua kama iko na stima. Mpaka niambia soja mwingine, mimi ni mtu wa wiring, wacha ni test kidogo, kumbe gate hakuna kitu. Ndio hiyo sisi kuenda. Actually kabla hata ndege iwekelewe zile maji mbili, fire extinguisher ama ni fire water. Hasa hapo kwa fire water, hiyo ilikuwa inaakishwa kama tumeshafika. Sasa wenye walikuwa nje, wenye waliingia mapema, wakaona hawa ni watu wetu wako ndani, pia wakakuja. So kufika hapo, I don't know what happened.
Efforts by joint security personnel of military and GSU to contain the crowd proved futile as hundreds pushed past the barricades, as others scaled perimeter wall, chanting Raila's name and waving twigs. A situation that forced the Kenya Airport Authority to announce a temporary closure of the airspace over Jomo Kenyatta International Airport from 10:26 a.m. to 12:26 p.m. to facilitate and enhance security rescreening operation following the arrival of the remains. But despite the disruption, the atmosphere remained largely peaceful, with mourners singing Raila's popular slogans as the casket was received. Security agencies later restored order as the procession prepared to depart for the Lee Funeral Home ahead of the public viewing at the Parliament buildings. And just before the procession began, the The route change was confirmed by Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga, who told mourners that the procession would use Mombasa Road instead of the Nairobi Expressway to allow Kenyans to pay their last respects. Hundreds of mourners escorted the body, which was carried on a gum carrier with the casket draped in a national flag. And while all this was happening, President Ruto, his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta, and other national leaders who had arrived to receive the body were still held up in a meeting at the State Pavilion. But as soon as the procession began, plans to move Raila's body from Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to Lee Funeral Home for the final preparation before the public viewing at Parliament buildings were abandoned as the crowd situation intensified. Tens of thousands of Kenyans gathered outside Parliament buildings along major city roads as the remains of the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga were scheduled to arrive for public viewing. A situation that forced Parliament officials to cancel the planned public viewing after they were overwhelmed by the crowd, forcing authorities to change the viewing plans from Parliament to Kasarani Stadium.
Walisema wanapeleka mwili ya baba anaenda kuomba. Walikuwa wanasema wanapeleka Uhuru Garden, lakini tena walikuja wakabadilisha wakachange. Wakasema baba anapeleka wapi? Kasarani. Hata huko Kasarani pia nilienda, hata kama niliumia huko Jomo Kenyatta Airport. Nilisema lazima nitaenda tena sababu mimi sijatoseka kuona baba na sijamuona vizuri. Mimi sikuwa na haja ya kuona mwili ya baba sababu ati niende nione sura yake. Kwani baba simjui, si mimi namjua. Mimi nilikuwa nataka kwenda tu kumuombea. Mungu amlase mahali pema peponi.
And at Lee Funeral Home, security had to be enhanced to address a security breach that had been reported. Here, crowds were eager to witness the casket where Raila's body was to be prepared for the official lying in state. And after hours, security teams in last-minute decision directed the convoy through Outer Ring Road to the Moi International Sports Centre, Kasarani, a venue deemed safe and suspicious enough to accommodate the massive crowd. These, as military officials and morticians who had been stationed at the Lee Funeral Home, were instructed to relocate to Kasarani, where the body would now lie in state. And even as plans were changed, top government officials, including Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku and Lee Kinyanjui, remained at Lee, even as security personnel quietly withdrew. Meanwhile, as the situation continued to intensify at Lee Funeral Home, despite the change of plans, chaos also rocked Parliament buildings after mourners who had gathered for the anticipated viewing attempted to force their way into the compound as thousands of Kenyans continued to stream into the capital to honor Raila Odinga, a man many considered the father of modern Kenyan democracy.
Tunaona shida. Vile baba amekufa, tunaona shida. Baba ndio alikuwa tegemeo letu. Mimi naweza kuambia, unasikia saa hii kuna nini zinabomolewa, manyumba zinabomolewa. Ni kwa sababu baba yuko saa hii. Kama baba si ndiye alikuwa anasimama hiyo bomwaji, baba ndiye alikuwa anasimamisha. Saa hii baba ako chini. Hakuna mtu saa hii tunabomolewa, hata sisi tuko na wasiwasi, hata mahali tuko hata sisi tutabomolewa. Tutaenda wapi? Sisi ni wanyonge. Sisi ni wanyonge. Nani atatutetea? Nani mwingine tutampata? Ule anaweza kututetea.
In that Kasarani Stadium, thousands of mourners filled the stadium terraces, waving flags and portraits of the former Prime Minister as his coffin, draped in the national flag, was wheeled into the arena under tight military escort. The atmosphere grew emotional as chants of Joey, Joey echoed across the stadium. Almost an hour later in the afternoon, tension flared again at Kasarani as mourners attempted to force their way into the VIP section, prompting police to fire tear gas canisters. Witnesses reported a stampede as security struggled to control the swelling crowd. They said the crowd had become unmanageable. The situation quickly turned chaotic as thick clouds of tear gas filled the 48,000 capacity stadium, forcing mourners to flee in panic. Within minutes, the venue that had been packed to capacity was nearly empty as people scrambled for safety.
Samira, hapo ilikuwa ni noma. Hapo ilikuwa ni noma. Pengine uende ujifiche chini ya gari. Lakini hata kama ukipatikana umesimama hivi, vile watu walikuwa wanapigana huko. Ukipatikana tu hata kama umesimama hivi, utakanyagwa, utasukumwa waanguke. Sasa mimi niliona ni kwa vile sina nguvu, sina uwezo, singeweza. Nilikuwa nimejificha tu ndani ya gari.
Individuals believed to be police officers used batons to drive people out of the stadium as others coughed and covered their faces to escape the choking gas. A commotion that left 3 dead and dozens injured.
Wenzetu wengi kwa bahati mbaya, hata mimi nasema pole sana, wenzetu wengi waliaga kwa sababu ya kupigwa. Wengine walipigwa risasi. Wengine walipigwa risasi. Kuna mwingine tulikuwa tunasimama karibu na yeye, tukisema tu baba, baba, lakini risasi alipigwa risasi akiwa karibu na mimi na akaanguka.
Despite the unrest, calm gradually returned as the ceremony continued, with top leaders and family members taking turns to view the body before the public was allowed access. And hours later, members of the public were given an opportunity to view the former Prime Minister's remains.
Kwenda huko nilikuwa nafikia ni kitu napita tu kiona. Sasa laini ni 3. Unajua venye tina kwanga. Kuna ile laini yenye inatoka ndani ya uwanja Kasarani, inakuja kama inatoka. Kuna hii yenye imetoka na hapa nje inakuja hapa. Kuna yenye inatoka. Umeona sasa hapa inafaa ukifika ndio unyonge kona. Una watch board ukiana na sio kuwatch hapo ni kisogo. Hapo ni unaangalia bodi na kisogo, unaona. Ukiweka pita uende. Nikaangalia ET. Alafu kulikuwa na kusukumana. Nikasema hapana, sina hata nguvu, nimechoka na nishaona mzai sana.
And on Friday, October 17th, 2025, Kenya's farewell to the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga entered its most poignant phase. At Parliament buildings, President William Ruto penned a heartfelt message in the condolences book, describing Raila as a gallant patriot who inspired many to stand up for democracy, justice, equity and fairness. On Friday, the focus shifted to Nyayo National Stadium, where thousands of mourners braved the morning chill to witness the state funeral. The highlight came as military personnel, alongside police, Navy and Air Force, wheeled in Raila's flag-dropped casket in a solemn procession led by religious leaders. Here, mourners erupted in chants, whistles and songs, waving flags, twigs and white handkerchiefs as the choir performed Abide With Me. Emotions ran high as mourners flooded the venue, many openly weeping, chanting Raila's name and waving flags and handkerchiefs in a powerful display of grief and solidarity. And as the official state funeral of the late Raila Odinga concluded at Nyayo National Stadium, thousands of mourners who had attended the ceremony remained in the stadium, eager to pay their final respects to the former Prime Minister. And after dignitaries, including President William Ruto, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, cabinet secretaries, senior ODM officials, and foreign leaders departed the venue, the public was left with a unique opportunity to view the late leader's casket. Raila's body, draped in the national flag, remained at the center of the stadium under tight security as National Youth Service officers lined up near the casket alongside General Service Unit personnel to prevent mourners from trespassing while ensuring orderly access. Security officers had set up clearly marked path leading to the casket where mourners queued in a single file. Each person was allowed to approach the body in turn, ensuring everyone remaining in the stadium had a chance to pay their respects without overcrowding in solemn yet tightly controlled atmosphere. The final viewing at Nyayo National Stadium was conducted with heightened security and meticulous organization to prevent a repeat of the previous day's chaos. Officers controlled the flow carefully, ensuring mourners moved alongside the stretch leading to the casket, allowing each individual to pay tribute without overcrowding. And on Saturday, October 18th, 2025, few minutes to 5 a.m., the former Prime Minister's body left Lee Funeral Home to Embakasi 75 Airbase. The scene at Embakasi Airbase in Nairobi was one of quiet dignity. The airbase, usually a hub of military activity, was hushed for the somber ceremony. Here, the former Prime Minister was accorded a rare and poignant honor, a military transport aboard a Kenya Air Force aircraft AC-27J Spartan. A C-27J Spartan is typically reserved for transporting VVIPs, and this time it was deployed specifically for the funeral duty, underscoring the high regard in which the departed was held. At few minutes past 6 a.m., Raila's body left Embakasi Airbase for Kisumu. Remember, initial plans were that Raila's body will be flown to Kisumu via Wilson Airport, only for the plans to be changed on the fateful morning. And at exactly 7:20 a.m., the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga arrived in Kisumu aboard a military helicopter, marking a solemn moment for the lakeside city and the nation. Upon arrival, Raila received his final military water salute. This historic moment marked his final flight to Kisumu. The aircraft was welcomed by military personnel, preparing to oversee the transfer of the casket to Mamboleo Stadium. And after a few minutes, the body of the former Prime Minister was airlifted from the Kisumu International Airport to the Jomo Kenyatta International Stadium in Mamboleo for public viewing. This came as a surprise to many of his supporters who had come to the airport expecting the convoy to travel by road. The public viewing, initially scheduled to take place at Moi Stadium, was moved to the Jomo Kenyatta International Stadium in Mamboleo following adjustments. Raila's body was later transported to his rural home at Opodo Farm in Bondo, Siaya County. And on Sunday, October 19th, 2025, the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga was accorded a 17-gun salute as Kenya bade farewell to one of its most influential political figures in a solemn military ceremony at the Kangoka Jaramogi in Bondo, Siaya County. Raila Odinga passed away on Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 in Kochi, India at the age of 80. The late former Prime Minister will be remembered as a statesman who championed democracy, dialogue and national unity. Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
All right, well, beautiful reminder there. You want to call it beautiful, sad at the same time, but well packaged by our very own Samira Mohammed. Asante for that. Now we cross over to more on sports. And the SportPesa Premier League is set to kick off the new year in style with an enticing encounter between powerhouses Shabana and fast-rising fan favourites Nairobi United. The match is set to be held at the Gusii Stadium in Kisii County, that is on Sunday, after is expected to high number of supporters, and many of whom have been yearning for the league to resume. Shabana currently sits fourth in the standings with a total tally of 23 points after 14 games, while Nai Boys are in 13th place, tallying 16 points after having played only 10 games due to continental assignments in the CAF Confederation Cup. All eyes will be on the Nicholas Muyoti-led side, who are looking to pull an upset against the resilient Turibobe, who are considered to be the race for the Premier League title.
I know the players are a bit rusty, but I know we've had time to prepare, and we've seen that our players are not rusty. I think from the coming up from the break, they're looking good, they're looking sharp. So we expect a tough one, and yeah, as always, we go for 3 points as much as possible, and I believe we have the capability to get something out of the game.
A renewed effort to rehabilitate and empower youth. Young people from Watamu and Shela wards received financial support aimed at promoting sports as a pathway to positive community engagement. The initiative, led by President William Ruto and Kilifi County Assembly Majority Leader Ibrahim Abdi, seeks to keep youth actively involved in constructive activities such as football, helping them steer clear of drug abuse and criminal behavior. This comes after a high number of highly talented and promising youth in the past have fallen victim to drug abuse due to lack of opportunities, a situation they now aim to reverse through sustained support for sports and creative activities.
Anaitwa William Samuel Ruto, His Excellency. Nilimwambia mimi naenda Watamu, naenda Gede, na nasikia huko kuna tournament inaendelea. Akaniambia hao wote wasalimie, uwapatie hongera wale waliopanga hii function, uwapatie hongera timu zote ambazo zilishiriki, na uwapatie hongera wananchi wote wa Watamu, na zaidi vijana wa eneo hili.
1 milioni, na rais wetu amesema hii pesa ni ya timu zote zilo participate kwenye nini, kwenye game. Tumeelewana eh?
Area has been heated badly, and hardly na mambo ya madawa kulevya na utovu wa usalama, lakini tunashukuru kuanzia tuanzishe hizi tournaments na nini mwaka huu. Hii Disemba tumeifunga vizuri, story za mawoza imepungua na nini, vijana wanawajibika katika michezo.
Mambo tumelitilia mkazo sana, na tunapenda liwe kila wakati na litakuwako kila wakati kwa mshirikiano wa viongozi hawa wetu, ili iwe ni vipaji pia, inaonyesha kuinua vipaji kwa vijana wetu.
And youth of Ngarimara Ward in Isiolo County marked the end of 2025 in a memorable way by organizing a peace tournament in their community dubbed as the Ngarimara Youth Sports Peace Championship that was focused on kicking out conflict and promoting peace. The tournament symbolized the youth collective effort to promote peace, discipline and unity within the region, as well further featured a unique twist. Participants and spectators were given free tree seedlings, aligning with their larger mission of providing both environmental and social support to the community. The Football Kenya Federation, in turn, announced that they would provide a 5,500 waiver to allow more local teams to affiliate with the federation, thus opening doors for youth players to develop their skills as well as gain more exposure.
The obligation of this tournament was to nurture talent and pia
kuleta peace among our youth. Mimi nawashukuru sana. Although there was some of the incidences ambayo karibu itatize amani, but we are able to control na tumeweza kumaliza na amani.
Hili ni shida nzuri, at least tumekeep hao vijana busy, tumefanya crossover ya maana. Si ni kweli? Hivi vijana wataki vitu mingi. Masomo, mpira na kazi. Ile nyingine kuoa hata wao baadaye. Si ni sawa?
Sio Garemara All Stars ndio best. All the clubs wale wali participate, yote ni best, ndio. So ni ile kuna ile hesabu 1 - 1 alafu weke plus alafu baadaye what, ndio. Inaleta hesabu ndani ya uwanja.
All right, and I think that should be more like it. We have prepared so much, and of course, at this very point, we must close it. Of course, as we look forward to see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much also for the immense feedback that we might not be able to go through. But then again, like I said, we appreciate you. My name is Linda Alela. It was great having you, as well as on the other end, my sign language interpreter tells me to say asante for staying tuned. None other than Rhoda Nyamai and the entire team. Do have yourself a lovely, lovely night ahead. Once again, happy New Year.